The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 428 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Is there any Star Wars in this Star Wars holiday special?
I completely could not believe that he did the interview. You just always got to ask.
I'm gonna venture a guess. Florence Henderson.
Yeah. It's the first person that has ever witnessed a Manson family crime scene.
Maybe it's best that you cut that story out.
And I said, oh, you need to do it on Life Day. That's when you do it. And he says, what's Life Day?
Oh, no.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force.
Are you ready?
Welcome to Neverland.
Here we go.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets love.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
You use a bird to write with. It's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! There's a disturbance in the Force. Can you feel it? Well, you will when it comes to a theater near you, but more on that in just a few minutes. But until then, we want to welcome you back to Skywalking Through Neverland. I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife Sarah, who cannot stop playing her video games. What are you doing over there?
Something dinged on my watch, which is why I usually take my watch off for our recordings, because it distracts me.
All right,
someone just sent me a message.
Whenever I see you looking down and to the side, you're always like covertly playing your video games.
I don't want to be rude.
So I thought I could just tell everyone what you were doing.
Okay. No, someone was messaging me and it dings on my watch. It goes boop boop on my wrist.
Thought you were playing Candy Crush or The Office or something.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And Candy Crush is
so
2012.
I was trying to call you out.
I know.
This one backfired.
It did. All right, Skywalkers. Well, we are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, and Marvel fandom. So it's time for your weekly Wookiee Hug, which is ultra relevant this week, and also a little sprinkling of pixie dust for our family of Skywalkers. Now coming up, Steve Kozak is back to give us updates on his documentary, A Disturbance in the Force, about the making of the Star Wars Holiday Special, and also a companion book that's coming out this November.
Now, we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency that can help you book your trip to a Disney park around the world, and best of all, this service is free. Yep, you heard me right, free of charge. So head over there to smallworldvacations.com for a no-obligation price quote and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Also, if you follow them on Instagram, Small World Vacations, they're posting video and reels from the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, which just started at Walt Disney World, which is crazy.
It's crazy to think that some families can go from the beach to celebrating Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
It's August. It's August, Disney. Now, I'm all for celebrating Halloween as long as possible, but right now, I just think it's... How do you get into it when it's so hot?
I don't know, but honestly, at the Disneyland Resort, last week, they started putting out their Halloween merchandise. So it's already there. Remember, I brought you home a gift?
Yes, you
did. A little
did.
present.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A little Grogu and a pumpkin pram.
We should You want me to get it?
Go get it.
Okay. I'll go get it.
So I love going to stores and seeing Halloween displays and decorations, but going to a Disney park to celebrate Halloween, I think it's a little bit too. It's one step too far. I don't think I could really enjoy that. And I know we've done Halloween at Disney in September, and even then, the first part of September, even that was a little bit hard to get into because you can't go in costumes because you're sweating so much. So now, hey, show everyone this present that you got me. Look at this. Look how cute this is.
Oh, it's a little pumpkin pram. Are you kidding me? And then little Grogu, he's like strapped in there, but you can take him out. But he's wearing a little purple Snuggie. Come on. That's the cute. Isn't that the cutest thing you've ever seen? Oh my gosh. I love it so much. So we have him on display in our little display area in our living room. And he's so cute.
Now this week, I'm allowed back in Disneyland because my pass says it's okay to do it because I get that summer block.
Yes.
And we'll be seeing some more Halloween merchandise, and we'll be making some reels.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't wait to see what else. Last year they knocked it out of the park with the whole Mandalorian, Grogu, Halloween crossovers. Oh, there's so much great stuff, and I can't wait to see what they have this year.
Now, we are recording this from Long Beach, California on August 15th, 2023. So, Richard, what happened today in Star Wars history?
Oh, lots happened. Now, if you are coming out to one of our next Star Wars Trivia Challenge Strikes Back game shows, then remember these upcoming dates because they make great trivia questions, okay?
Ooh.
And so far, no one... Didn't put my phone on silent again, didn't I? Now, these questions here, no one ever gets right. So if you're listening to this episode, you may win the round.
Okay.
Because these are awesome trivia questions.
Awesome.
All right, now, on this date, August 15th, 1979, how many years ago was that?
44 years.
44 years ago. Star Wars is re-released for 3 weeks only in just 729 theaters, but then expands to over 1,500 theaters by the upcoming weekend. And Fox advertised a window of just 3 weeks for this release, but because of its popularity, it was extended by several more weeks. Now, bonus content includes the first live-action teaser trailer for The Empire Strikes Back, narrated by Harrison Ford.
I remember this.
Luke Skywalker and Han Solo rescued the princess, destroyed the Death Star, but their story didn't end there.
And Kenner gave out little toy discount books at participating theaters. And I've got a whole stack of them, a whole stack of these, because whenever I'd go to the theater, I'd say, hey, can I get one more? One more? One more?
Yeah.
One more? So I got a whole big stack of these. Maybe at some point we'll give some of these away at some of our upcoming Trivia Challenge game shows.
That would be amazing. I have a question. So this was the first re-release of Star Wars. Now, when they released the special editions in 1997, did they also have to extend when they were putting out Empire Strikes Back? Like I thought Star Wars made such a splash in January of 97 that they then didn't they like extend its run?
Well,
or they didn't put Empire Strikes Back out as soon as they were going to?
You're thinking of Return of the Jedi.
Is that okay?
That was going to be released on March the 7th.
Okay.
But because of the popularity of Star Wars and Empire, they pushed back the Return of the Jedi special edition release to March 14th.
Okay.
That's what you're thinking of.
Because I remember, because that's right around my birthday. I was going to have a big birthday, and then we ended up having to shuffle it around. So, yeah.
Now, also on this date, August 15th, but in 2008, 15 years ago today, Star Wars The Clone Wars feature film is widely released by Warner Brother Pictures.
Wow.
And I remember seeing this. You got out of work early so we could go see this on opening night.
Yeah, we went to the Long Beach Theater right down by the pier because that's where I worked. So we walked over and saw it over there. And yeah, it was cool. I played hooky from work. And we saw like a 4 o'clock
I think they would have understood. It was so odd seeing a new Star Wars film but with a Warner Brother
Yes.
logo before the film. It's like, wait a minute, no, we need the 20th Century Fox logo. What is it? What kind of world are we living in when when a Star Wars film is not preceded by the Fox logo? Now, this was the 7th Star Wars film to be released theatrically. Now, what I said earlier, that if you remember these dates, you will win some upcoming trivia challenges, because one of the questions we ask is, what is the 7th Star Wars film to be released theatrically? Of course, what does everyone say?
The Force Awakens.
And they think, okay, I got it right, but nope.
Everyone always forgets about the Clone Wars.
You always hear the big oh.
Yeah.
And this is like a 2-part trivia question, because in our film release category, we ask a question about August 15th.
Right.
And sometimes people will get the Clone Wars, but they'll forget about the Star Wars re-release.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So if you remember these dates, you will win. You will win triumphantly.
Absolutely. All right. Well, here is
Things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
All right, Skywalkers, we will be at Long Beach Comic-Con September 2nd through the 3rd, where we will have new rounds of Star Wars Trivia Challenge Strikes Back. So if you were at Comic-Con in San Diego and thought, oh, I've already played this. Nuh-uh, no you haven't. And we're going to have a table there so you can get your copy of Today in Star Wars History, Volumes 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And
Skywalking Through My Fandom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have a table there. And we just pitched a second panel where we're going to do a live recording of classic Marvel Star Wars comics, issue 45, Death Probe.
Now, we haven't heard back if that panel has been accepted, but we are super excited to do some live classic Marvel Star Wars comics episodes.
Yeah.
I think they really lend themselves to like a screen and a live show of that.
Yeah, and I'm very excited about this because this is the first issue after the Empire Strikes Back adaptation. So we're going to get into new storytelling, new artwork, and this is the one to really do live. So I hope everyone can be there. Once again, Long Beach Comic-Con, September 2nd through the 3rd. And then, Sarah, what's our next convention after that?
It will be LostCon, which is the Thanksgiving weekend of November 25th and 26th. We are going to do our pop culture trivia game show.
Yes.
So we will not have a table at that one, but we will be doing that panel.
Yes, and this is going to be really, really fun because we're broadening out from just the Star Wars Trivia Challenge Strikes Back, but now it's the Pop Culture Trivia Challenge Strikes Back, and I'm very excited about this. Fun categories to come. Mm-hmm. So once again, this is going to be at the LAX Marriott in Los Angeles, and the weekend is the November 25th through the 26th, which is the weekend after Thanksgiving. Now, we're also looking for more conventions to do our game shows. So if you know about a convention in the California area, please let us know. And we were also thinking about maybe going back to where it all began for me in terms of conventions in the 70s and 80s and doing a convention in Boston.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I would love to do our game show at a Boston convention. That would be like the circle is now complete.
Well, Dubact is chiming in. Are you guys going to LA Comic-Con in December? So unfortunately, December is a huge work month for us, so we cannot do conventions in December on the weekends.
When is that one?
I think it's like right smack, either the 8th or 9th or something, like either that.
All right, we're out.
Yeah.
It's
either the 1st or 2nd weekend in December, and we just can't.
It's very hard to do anything in December because of our heavy work schedule. Just having a Star Wars film being released in December, like the last couple of films,
it was so hard.
The sequels and Rogue One, it was really, really hard to juggle our work schedule with the press conferences, with the screenings. But we're not complaining. We made it work. We're not complaining.
Yeah.
We had January to decompress.
Yes, exactly. So due back to saying come to Salt Lake Fan X.
Oh.
A lot of these fan expos seem like really fun. I see on Instagram, like Ashley Eckstein's always posting.
Yeah.
They were just at Fan X Boston, I want to say. The whole, like Matt Lanter and Ashley Eckstein.
Yeah,
and James Arnold Taylor.
Wait, let us know when this Salt Lake Fan
X
is.
Yeah, let us know.
Because that's in Utah. That ain't too far.
No. And I heard it's beautiful there. No, I've never been.
Well, that may change very soon.
Yay.
All right, now, Skywalkers, we have some brand new videos. Sarah,
Yes.
tell them all about our brand new videos.
Okay, so our YouTube channel, we've been putting out some fun content. Last week, in lieu of a podcast episode, we put out on YouTube our panel from San Diego Comic-Con.
And this was the Star Wars Trivia Challenge Strikes Back. And we took the 55-minute show and condensed it into 16 minutes, which was really hard. But we want to give you just a little taste of it. Didn't want to give away everything.
Right.
Didn't want to give away the farm.
Give away the answers too. So we don't want to give away all of that. But it is really fun. You'll get a flavor of how it went. And it was really great.
And how chaotic it was.
The audience. Chaotic the audience was.
Yes.
Also, we have clips from another panel at San Diego Comic-Con. Leilani Shu, who is Jawa in Obi-Wan Kenobi. She plays
the
Tika.
Mandalorian.
And the Mandalorian. She's been in 5 Star Wars shows. She said some really great stories during her panel. And she was also there with Julie Dolan, who is the voice of Princess Leia on various things, including Star Tours. So that video is up where Julie Dolan tells how she got that job. Spencer Wilding, we're going to put out that video this week also.
And he was Darth Vader in Rogue One.
Yeah, so we got to hear all their stories of how they began these
their
iconic,
Star Wars experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And this was in the panel called Star Wars Past, Present, and Future. All right, and then today we released another video.
Because so back at Comic-Con, so many things happened at Comic-Con, but one of the things was Rock Love was having a special, like they always do, Rock Love Jewelry, and if you purchased something, then you could get like a free necklace, which was amazing. So I ended up purchasing it, and I had to pre-order online because she didn't have it there. I ended up purchasing the Indiana Jones Staff of Ra headpiece necklace, which is gorgeous. It's in gold, and it's so popular because in the movie, Marion wears the Staff of Ra headpiece as a necklace at some point. Like now it's gigantic. The medallion. Now it's, gigantic for a necklace. So Rocklove has made a version that is like about an inch in diameter, and it's beautiful. Like just all the detail on it and the packaging. So we did an unboxing video of that necklace. And you can see all the awesome packaging and stuff. So make sure to head to our YouTube channel, Skywalking Through Neverland, and check out all these latest videos.
All right, now let's catch up with Steve Kozak, the director of the documentary A Disturbance in the Force.
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
And a great disturbance in the Force.
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
The Star Wars Holiday Special is sort of like the Holy Grail.
I wanted to see this more than I wanted to live.
We're starving as fans for anything Star Wars.
So funny and so stupid at the same time.
We have seen something that we weren't supposed to see.
Think you know about the Star Wars Holiday Special? You don't. A Disturbance in the Force. A story 45 years in the making.
Back in 2020, director Steve Kozak was a guest at our Force Fest virtual convention to tell us about his documentary, A Disturbance in the Force. And this is about the making of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Steve is back to give us a follow-up and to tell us about his companion book to be released in November.
Hey, Steve! never tired of that.
Very smooth. Richard, how are you guys doing?
We are doing good and just waiting until next month where we're going to see a Disturbance in the Force at the LA screening.
Ooh.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit, unless you have something to add to it.
Rich, you're in LA, yeah.
We had seen it through a link you had sent us, so thank you very much for sending me the link. The film was just great. I just got to tell you that. It was a really fun look at the making of the holiday special. But catch the Skywalkers up about the documentary and why you took on this monumental task.
Well, I actually knew Steve Binder, was a family friend of mine, and
he was the second director of the holiday special.
Second director of the holiday special, sorry. For those of you uninitiated, I was working with him on something else. My father had worked with him for years. Very, very dear man. If you guys have ever bumped into him or anything, he'd make a great interview. And although now he's really swamped because he has this new Elvis Presley. He directed the Elvis Presley comeback special, and there's a new documentary coming out in the next month in theaters about the making of the comeback special, the Elvis Presley comeback special. So
yeah, Steve was on our show a couple of years ago.
Oh, he was I was assuming he was. I didn't want to mention it because well, if he didn't go there. He's amazing, and he was such a dear person. And when he said to me that he wasn't ashamed of it, I was really like thrown by that. Like I completely was thrown by that he's proud of it. And I just had to figure out what it was that he was proud of, and it gave it a lot of legitimacy. And through that, I started really looking in and talking to the people behind the scenes, and they really did kind of love the idea. And they were all just kind of local. It wasn't a bunch of Star Wars people; it was a bunch of variety people that produced the show. So actually, the documentary is, as you saw, it's much more actually about variety television than it is about Star Wars, although it's obviously about George Lucas and his adventures here. So yeah, that was pretty much the reason to do it.
Yeah, that's a great launching pad that he was so proud of this. And when we talked to him, yes, he was very enthusiastic to talk about it, and he had nothing but great memories of working on the special and working with the actors. He just didn't like the fact that at the last couple of seconds they said, "Okay, now do the finale," and you have no budget, ready and go.
Right. I mean, if you look at the special, I mean, some people say, like, what is it is there anything in there that's really good? I think that the B. Arthur scene is pretty amazing. I think it's pretty great. I think she is absolutely amazing in it. Totally is very believable, believe it or not, which I find hard to believe that she's so believable. But when I started realizing Steve had done, he didn't do the cantina scene, but he directed the Wookiee porn scene. He directed that. He has to answer for that, and we all know how friggin' bizarre that is.
And this is the Diane Carroll Murmia scene that took 7 minutes.
Yeah.
For Itchy to watch, and maybe the kids in the audience should not be watching.
Yeah.
7 minutes? Is it really that long?
It's 7, and I made Sarah sit through all 7 minutes the first time. The first time we watched it, I would not let her scrub forward.
Oh my goodness.
So mind blowing.
It is.
And I guess not to change the subject, but that's kind of what one of the bizarre things is. Like, people are like, well, what was the reason? How could they have done this? How come Lucasfilm didn't do anything about it? And then you think about it. Well, they had a Lucasfilm liaison on the set. They had Mickey Herman there, and she was in the editing bay. So it's like you wonder, how did this get pitched, written, recorded, rehearsed, and then edited and broadcast without anyone going, "Hey, can we take another look at the masturbation scene?" I'm a little, I don't know about that one. I just a little kind of.
Makes it uncomfortable. Yeah.
Question it a little bit, but.
Yeah, they had to hit that 2-hour mark. It's like, well, just keep padding that scene.
That's true. Yeah.
Even as a 9-year-old, I remember watching that going, can we get back to Star Wars? Is there any Star Wars in this Star Wars holiday special?
There's a great line that Kevin Smith says. You have not seen the movie. The doc has changed quite a bit since you saw it. We have a lot of new interviews, a lot of celebrity interviews, but celebrities that were relevantly involved, like Seth Green, who worked with Lucas, Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith has this great line where he's like, his initial attitude was very similar to what you said. It was like, where's let's go back to Han Solo, and really that was the feeling that I had as well. But as we describe in the book, much further on, much that we get caught up in that discussion. That was the expectation of the time. We watched these specials, and they were never meant for us. When you were 9 years old watching 1978 variety shows, you maybe got one or two characters that were there for you, and then there was Pat Boone for our parents, and all this other stuff that we had to sit through because they wanted the whole family. They wanted to get everyone, and it wound up, I think, as we say in the doc, kind of diluting the whole thing by making it a mass. By trying to attract more people, it diluted the product.
Right.
Yeah, way too many chefs in that kitchen. And not even looking at you, Gourmanda. Everyone else.
Now for the documentary itself, Steve, you tracked down so many of the cast and crew who worked on that special, as you were mentioning before. So which ones were perhaps the hardest to get, and what was your white whale? Like, who did you really want that was just extremely hard?
We would have loved to get Mark Hamill. I would have loved to get J.J. Abrams, Jon Favreau. That didn't happen. I would say probably the one that I was most excited about was Bruce Vilanch, because I knew of him and I knew how passionate he is.
And he's one of the writers.
Right. And if you don't know Bruce Vilanch, he has long blonde curly hair. He is about 70 right now, probably.
Yeah, we've had him on the show too.
He's kind of chunky, and he's got these big red glasses. And that's what I use to describe to people. And they go, oh, I know who he is. To me, he was just, it wasn't him saying yes at all. It was just, after I interviewed him, I was like, wow. He was just like, he was funny, and he told these really great stories. And, in the book, he actually wound up telling me some even better stories that he had not really included for some reason in our first discussion. So I would say Bruce Vilanch was pretty much the one that, no, I take that back. Bob Mackie was the one that impressed me.
Yeah, he was the costume designer.
Yeah, Bob Mackie, very high-end costume designer, in the middle of COVID, at 80 years old, against all logic, did the I completely could not believe that he did the interview. But one thing that kind of, my message always about Bob Mackie, as well as other interviews I've gotten for television shows or whatever I worked on, is that you just always got to ask. Like, I had no in to Bob Mackie. My father had produced television shows with Steve Binder. That might have helped with Bruce Vilanch. I don't know, because Bruce Vilanch does a ton of interviews. But getting Bob Mackie just off of an email and just pitching myself, I got him to do it. And it was like, it didn't matter who you knew. I just really made a passionate plea. And then he's the one who showed me these behind the scenes, the original drawings of the characters, of the wardrobe that he designed for Art Carney, for the Arthur, and then for the acrobats.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one that I was mostly impressed by. That we got Bob Mackie, big designer Bob Mackie. Yeah. So kudos to you.
I forget about that one. And he actually, in the middle of the interview, he was like, he all of a sudden remembered that there was another kind of an alternate design costume, and it was an alternate for Diane Carroll, and she was not as dark skinned. She was a tad lighter skin, And that was kind of the idea that, well, who is this woman? Who was this first woman that they had in mind? And that brought out a lot of searching. We think it was Cher. Then there was discussions in the book gives up that there might have been a realization that it was Grace Slick potentially. So it's this mystery woman that Bob does not remember who it was, but it was someone in that spot before Diane Carroll.
All right, I'm gonna venture a guess. Florence Henderson.
Yeah.
She always wanted to sing in those.
Yeah, maybe she'd be good in that. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, before we get too much into the book, let's talk about the festivals that you have been bringing A Disturbance in the Force around to. What's been the reaction at these film festivals?
Yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. After the first at South by Southwest, there was it was a 130 seat place, and they seemed to really love it. It was not as amazing of an experience as I thought until we screened it to a 300 seat theater a couple days later at the festival, and that blew my mind. And that was, people wanted to take their picture with me. It was just totally, it was unrealistic. I just couldn't even fathom. I was even questioning, well, what do you mean? What do you want to be picked? What do you want a picture with me for? We did get invited to the Milwaukee Festival.
Oh.
My partner, Jeremy Kuhn, had done a movie called Raiders, a doc called Raiders. And of course he did Napoleon Dynamite, produced that throughout that whole screening pre-life film festival life that it took there. So he knew a lot, and he had gotten a request from the Milwaukee Film Festival, which you think is no big deal, until you get to the theater, and it's a 1,100 seat theater. And I'm like telling the guy, it's like in the middle of the day, I'm looking at this place, and I'm like, how do you fill this? When was the last time you filled it? He goes, well, we have 600-700 people coming tonight. I'm like, stop. No, you don't have 600. We sold it out, 1,100 seats. But the caveat is that it was on May the 4th.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
So in other words, it probably dragged in a lot of just generic Star Wars fans who are like, let's just do something wacky tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of extended family in Milwaukee. I wonder if any of them were there.
It was a beautiful theater. It was, do you know where they do that festival?
I don't, actually.
Huge. Oh, it's called the Oriental. It's amazing. It's like the Grauman's Chinese. It's amazing, but it's bigger than the Chinese. So that was amazing.
How many festivals have you done?
It went to the Seattle Film Festival, the Milwaukee Festival. When that movie screened there, even the woman who was hosting it and interviewing me afterwards said, that must have been crazy to hear, because now you're hearing people laughing at stuff that you didn't realize was funny, or it was just a little bit of a laugh, and they're laughing really loud. And yeah, what an experience! What an experience! We took it to Seattle. It went to Seattle. It went to the same day that I went to Milwaukee. Jeremy went to Dallas, because that's his hometown. They screened it there.
Nice.
And it's going to be in Spain.
Wow.
We are kind of limiting it. I think those are really the only ones. It's maybe 6 festivals. So.
And you've been working on this for a number of years, so to hear people react to something like this must have just blown your head. Yeah.
It has been a long time. I mean, luckily I have a day job, so I couldn't commit that much time to it. But, my family's been very supportive, and, in me disappearing on weekends and,
Now, is there a release date set for this documentary so that everyone can see it?
We have, right now we're still dealing with, I think the Writers Guild strike is affecting a lot of is slowing it down a little bit. We do have some offers. We have some offers for a theatrical run, a small theatrical run. We have a streaming offer that's kind of sitting there, and we have an international offer. And we have a basic television offer. They're all, but they're general There are different levels of interest for us.
What would be your ideal release?
That's a good question, Sue. Sarah, that's a good question. Does anyone ever call you Susan?
No.
I call her Sweetie Wife.
I'm the person. I would say a theatrical run at one of those retro theaters like Quentin Tarantino's place or
the Arrow Theater here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean something like that for like a couple days or a week. That would be just really amazing. And then probably Netflix probably be the best place for it.
Now, before the documentary is released, you have a book coming out, a companion book. Now, is this a transcription of the film? Are there stories in the book that didn't make it into the cut of the film? Tell us about this.
As you know, watching documentaries, until you really work on one, it's not as... I mean, it's frustrating. I'll give you an example. I used to work at a show called Hard Copy, and I had this investigative piece that I was so into. I was kind of producing it a little bit. The director of it was cutting. It was like a 7-minute piece, which is a long piece for Hard Copy. And I said, "Oh, you didn't include this. You missed this whole thing." And he's like, "Yeah, you know what? We can't really get caught up in all that. We got to kind of keep it going, straight line." And he did teach me that. I did see how a lot of times, and the very famous documentary Capturing the Freedmans, if you ever saw that, that actually was criticized because, not criticized, but one of the 3 major suspects in the film, in the story, they never even kept. They never even put in the documentary. So it's kind of like, the errors of omission. Like you have to kind of keep it going. You can't get caught up in these really wild, crazy stories. It doesn't really move. It just clogs up the story. And I think the story moves well as a documentary, but there were so many great stories that I was shocked that I wanted to include. So during COVID, I just started kind of writing because I didn't know what else to do. We were kind of stuck without do interviews, and I kind of realized, wow, there might be a book here. I don't know.
Yeah, you had sent me a list of some of these anecdotes in the book, and the first one you mentioned is the Manson family connection. What?
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 Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Tease us about that.
I won't tease you. I'll just tell you the story. It is... So one of the stage managers, lovely man named Mike Irwin, who's in the documentary, and he's one of those guys, when you watch a documentary, you're watching maybe 10 to 25 different sound bites from different interviewers, rotating. And there's always, if the doc has done a good job, you fall in love with a couple of them. And this is the guy that you really just he's just so soft-spoken and gentle. And he died just after we interviewed him. And his wife told us how sad she was and how much it was a big deal for him to do the interview. And she said, with everything he'd been through in his life, it was a miracle. And I said, what are you talking about? And she says, "Oh, well, the whole thing, up in when he was in Topanga Canyon growing up as a teenager." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." So when he was growing up as a teenager in Topanga Canyon, late 60s, his best friend was a guy named Gary Hinman. Gary Hinman's mother called him up and said, "I haven't heard from Gary. Where is Gary? Do you know where he is?" He is not answering his phone. Mike goes to his house, opens the door, and sees what will become the first murder victim of the Manson family. Not only is it the first victim of the Manson family, and not only is his best friend, but it's also, if you think about it, it's the first person that has ever witnessed a Manson family crime scene, which, of course, if you know about it, they wrote things on the walls and stuff. So it wasn't just seeing his best friend dead. It was seeing some unbelievable scene for the first time. And he
how traumatizing.
Because a week later was the Tate LaBianca murders. It was the writing on the wall that connected the LaBianca murders to Manson, who was hanging around Gary at the time. His friend living with him. So what wound up happening is Mike Irwin, the stage manager, had to testify in open court against Manson in his trial. And, you know, I had one reference in the book that they cut out. It was like, you know, up until then, Mike Irwin thought that was the worst thing he'd ever seen.
Oh no. Well,
Wow.
maybe it's best that you do cut that story out. Yeah, it's still a little too early for a joke like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an amazing, I mean, how someone, you know, you think someone's been through a little bit, someone's had some issues. Wow. 18 years old, you walk in on that, you know, and testifying against Manson in open court, man.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought you were going to say maybe Manson had auditioned for one of the Cantina creatures. I thought, no, wait a minute, hold on, that happened years before this.
Yeah.
Years before this. Oh, that's where my mind went. It's like, oh, please, how much can we separate Manson and the Star Wars Holiday Special? It's got to be a big, big chasm. But I do want to thank you for including my comment about the too much makeup Luke. And I still believe that Mark Hamill wore all that makeup because they were trying to match the skin tone as seen in Star Wars, and not so much to cover up his scarring from his multiple car accidents.
Which is a great advance, that we've at least moved on from the fact that he's not covering up for damage to his face. But yeah, you did get beat out, because I do think that the person, even though you moved me away from that, there is someone that came up with, I thought, the perfect explanation, which is the fact that these were all theater, Broadway producers that were putting this together. And that there was probably a mindset of more makeup because they take it on in theater. And most of these people were from theater, from Broadway. The Welches were from musical theater. Joe Layton was a Broadway producer for most of his career. So I think that makes more sense, that they were just caking on because...
Well, that does also tie into what I also said.
I'm in a close second, though.
But what I also said, that this was the advent of videotape in broadcast TV. So these makeup artists had been working in film. So you need much, much heavier makeup. Because when you see films in 4K that were shot in the 70s and 60s, you can really see the lines in the makeup. So I think that has got to play into the factor too. And maybe those makeup artists had talked to the Star Wars makeup artists and say, what makeup did you use so I can match that, without saying, oh, by the way, we're shooting on videotape.
Right. And I think that, that was that is a huge reason too. And I left that in there, though. I think that's in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it did. You sent me a copy of the book, so thank you very much for that. And yes, that is in there.
Huge reason why.
Now, I want to talk about the biggest myth about Star Wars and the holiday special, and that is Lucas had supposedly said, if I had time and a hammer, I would personally smash every one of these bootleg copies of the holiday special. Now, I found a quote from the Hollywood Reporter that Lucas had said this at an Australian convention a few years after the holiday special had aired. But his first convention was in 1987 for the Star Wars 10th Anniversary Convention. And there, at that convention, he seriously stated that the holiday special may have plans for videotape.
I believe it will be released on videotape, and I'm not sure whether they're going to rerun it on television or not.
So what are your thoughts about this quote? And I believe it's along the same lines as the May the 4th be with you. Someone just made it up and ran with it.
Well, I have the answer. I'm not going to tell you what I think is the answer. Not like the other thing where I kind of said, you're kind of there, this one's kind of there. I have the answer. First of all, I never believed it. I thought that the media is so stupid and people are so stupid because you just see it being copied over and referred to. I mean, we even referred to it in our press junket, or like, it's the movie that George Lee, and it's so stupid. I hate when people do that. They just keep repeating the same thing with no reference. no end notes, no notes. So we were interviewing Steven Sansweet. Steve is the person that interviewed Lucas that he told the story to. He said, "Oh, I can't talk about that anymore. If I could have a hand, whatever." And he said it to Steven. Steven is the one who said it in the Australian convention, not Lucas. Steven
Oh.
was in the Australian convention and told that to the convention audience. And they've been quoting it ever since. They just don't quote Stephen Sansweet. So,
Well, I'm very disappointed in the Hollywood Reporter that as big of a trade paper is, they're saying that Lucas said this himself at an Australian convention and didn't do any research. Research is very simple. His first appearance was in '87.
well, and if you want to go on the Hollywood Reporter, you need to search the Hollywood Reporter's review of the Star Wars Holiday Special, 1978. Oh, that's a beauty. Oh, they just praised it to death. Oh, seriously, that's an easily searchable thing.
All right, so maybe this will cancel out their inaccuracy then. If they love the holiday special, all right, maybe now I think better of them.
But it's not realistic. I mean, there's a lot of crap in the Star Wars Holiday Special. You're a good supporter of it. You think there's other things to it. You're like me. You found other positives about it. You don't want to just throw rocks at it. You want to find some gold in it, which there is. But the reality is that it was awful. And for this person, it was just it almost looked like it was someone from Fox sending their own review of a perfect film, a perfect special, because they raved about everything. They said the effects were amazing and out of this world. You should look it up.
Oh, I definitely will. Maybe Fox sent them a huge gift basket full of Kenner toys and props and maybe a walk-on on The Empire Strikes Back. I've known that to happen.
Hollywood Reporter staff, 1978. Starship appeared in a rock number greatly enhanced by computer-generated lighting effects. Jeff Chang handled the impressive lighting for the show. I mean, they went through every person and just said something positive about them. I mean, this is, unbelievable. Video animation was brilliant.
We'll link that in our show notes.
Oh, most definitely.
All right, so where can fans and Skywalkers follow up with the progress of A Disturbance in the Force, both the book and the film?
If you just go to steve-kozak.com, there's links to the film. There's links to the book. You can even the book comes out November 15th, and actually 2 days later, it's playing at Grauman's Chinese. I forgot to tell you about that. That's going to be a big thing with a Q&A afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, this is breaking. Wait a minute. Tell us more about this. Where can we get tickets?
I don't know how they're going to handle the tickets. I know they're probably for sale because they said it's like an 900 seat theater that is the biggest theater there still. Even though it used to be 1,400, but they cut it up, I guess.
Oh, please keep us looped in on that.
Very excited about that. That's huge. So even if the film does not even have a buyer at that time, it's still going to play November Life Day. In fact, they had asked me, such a weird connection how this happened. I was trying to confirm. Well, there's one big Star Wars thing that I'll mention real quick. You know the famous photo of Grauman's Chinese with all the people in the street and everything?
Yeah.
This is opening day at Star Wars, Very frustrating. That's another one of those inaccuracies where it was not opening day. I mean, it did well on opening day, but it wasn't like that. That was obviously, as you're shaking your head violently, that was when they returned from being down the street at the 24-hour theater for a couple days because the sorcerer came in and booted them out, and they had to come back, I guess it was 2 weeks later. And that was the big return. So Charles Lippincott decided to make it a bigger than heck event and had the creatures put their feet in cement and so forth.
R2-3PO and Vader?
Yes, Darth Vader. That was, I believe,
August 3rd, 1977.
August 3rd, 1977. And I was trying to get them to give me a copy of it, the PR guy at Grauman's Chinese, because I didn't want to license it from whatever the company was for the book. So I was asking him for it, and I kept telling him about this event, and then I saw him at a funeral like days later for a mutual friend, and then I told him all about the documentary. It was actually Bob Newhart's wife.
Oh.
I had interviewed Bob Newhart for the documentary, and he didn't know that while I was asking about the book that there was a whole documentary. So he started, I guess a couple days later, he went back to his friends at work and told him, and he's just called me up and says, hey, we need to have it here because we're the home of all the Star Wars films. And I guess they probably compete a lot with the El Capitan in Hollywood because I know some of them played there.
Yes.
But
yeah, at the same time.
Consider themselves to be, because of obviously the first trilogy was all there. But then, when the prequels came out, that was where all the madness was.
Yeah, the liningup.net.
It's also a better theater.
Well, yeah. I think they just wanted to own it and say anything Star Wars comes to our theater. So that's what he called me up and said, we'd love to have you here. So he wanted to do it on that August 3rd. And I said, oh, you need to do it on Life Day. That's when you do it. And he says, what's Life Day?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, this is very, very exciting. We were planning on celebrating Life Day at Disneyland.
Yeah.
We may need to change our plans.
Oh, no. I loved Life Day at Disneyland.
Friday night, too. So.
Please keep us looped in there. We'll definitely be there.
I will absolutely.
All right, and of course, we'll put the link to the Amazon book into our show notes. And it says here it's going for the low price of $24.95.
$24.95 with tons of pictures.
Yeah.
Excellent.
There's even a reference to the original script, which we found. I don't know if you've seen that. The 5-page treatment to the holiday special starring Raquel Welch.
Oh my gosh.
And this is in the book?
It's in the book.
Oh, that alone is worth $24.95.
Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to see you and everyone else at the Los Angeles screening of Disturbance in the Force. Is this open to the public or just people who know you?
They should inquire. We still haven't figured out how to do that yet because it's part of a conference that people pay one fee for. You're invited because you're friends of the show, of the film, obviously. But we don't know how we're going to handle that. It's being moderated by Mo Kelly. Mo Kelly has a weekend show on KFI. He kind of talks about pop culture.
Okay.
Probably the same kind of stuff you cover, Star Wars and some others. So he's moderating it. So maybe we'll do something with KFI. Maybe we'll give you guys some tickets to give out. That'd be great too.
Oh, please.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. All right, Steve. Well, thank you very much for coming on and telling us about the updates on the documentary and the book and all these screenings and the new screening at the Grauman's Chinese Theater. Already counting down the days.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Hope to see you there.
Happy
Absolutely.
Life Day.
Bye, Sarah. Bye, Rich. Thank you.
Good night, but not goodbye.
Now, when we were talking to Steve, he had mentioned this Hollywood Reporter review.
From 1978.
Yes, where they gave a glowing review of the Star Wars Holiday Special. And you know what? Great. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah?
But I like we were mentioning earlier, I think maybe they were paid off.
Okay.
And like we were mentioning earlier, I don't give too much credibility to the Hollywood Reporter anymore after they had misquoted George Lucas.
Right. So are we going to read some of this for our Skywalkers?
Yeah, let's read some of this and see what you think.
Okay, so let me read. If the prospect of a 2-hour Star Wars holiday special conjured up visions of May the Force be with you, repeated ad nauseum in your head, this show on CBS was a welcome surprise.
Now, what does that mean? That there was too much May the Force be with you?
I don't know what that means. What was he expecting? Or she? I don't know who wrote this. Yeah, okay.
So already we're not off to a blazing start.
All right, here we go. For the most part, the special was an inventive diversion that stood on its own merits. The film's stars, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Peter Mayhew, and of course, C-3PO and R2-D2 were on hand. However, The special effects were the real stars of the show.
All right, stop.
If you've seen the Star Wars Holiday Special, you know that they're not great.
Well, you know what? But then again, let's look at it through a 1978 lens.
Yes.
And these effects, they were simple dissolves and overexposures. But wait a minute, there's more.
Yes. The plot smacks of sentiments typical of the Waltons, but the time waiting for Chewbacca to come for Life Day is filled with cleverly integrated musical numbers and amusing special effects.
All right, now did the special effects director write this review?
Yeah, no kidding. This guy, they were totally enamored with the special effects. I don't know.
But you know what? Once again.
Now, did you just pick and choose various?
Yes.
Okay, so
we'll put the whole review in the show notes.
Well,
the link.
We'll put a link. Yeah, a link to it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, stop everything while I read this paragraph. Diane Carroll's sensuous number, This Minute, with original music and lyrics by Mitzi and Ken Welch, was by far the highlight of the show, incorporating some spectacular visuals. A fanciful dance number featuring miniaturized hologram creatures, choreographed by David Winters, was also very effective. Jefferson Starship appeared in a rock number greatly enhanced by computer-generated lighting effects. Jeff Chang and Fred McKinnon handled the impressive lighting for the show.
Now, he just mashed like 5 different topics in one paragraph.
Yeah. Wow.
Because he's all over the place here.
Okay, but Diane Carroll as the highlight of the show?
Maybe Diane Carroll's manager wrote this. This review was more like notes. Okay, here's the notes. Now let's flush it out. But guess what? They never flushed it out.
No. Wow.
Yeah, so Hollywood Reporter, I used to think very highly of you. Not anymore, and I'm so sorry. Well, that wraps up episode 428 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We want to thank Steve Kozak for coming on the show and giving us updates on A Disturbance in the Force, and we can't wait to see it in a theater next month at the LA screening. That'll be so exciting. And guess what? I'm gonna attend as Too Much Makeup Luke.
Awesome.
And we want to thank all you Skywalkers for commenting on today's show in the Sky Chat and commenting on our videos and our Instagram posts and everything that you do for Skywalking Through Neverland.
Now remember, you can meet us and play some awesome Star Wars trivia on September 2nd and 3rd at Long Beach Comic-Con and possibly a live episode of classic Marvel Star Wars comics. You can also join us for LostCon the weekend of November 25th and 26th at the LAX Marriott for pop culture trivia.
Strikes back.
Now, are you interested in our books? Well, autographed copies of Today in Star Wars History, Parts 1 and 2, and the Skywalking Through My Fandom and interactive notebook are available now from skywalkingthroughneverland.com/book.
Now, we want to thank our sponsor once again, Small World Vacations, for their continued support. Thinking of a trip to a Disney park? We can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so check it out and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Now, would you like to support Skywalking Through Neverland, or are you already? We want to thank you so much for that. Well, you can consider supporting us through the Skywalking Force, which is our Patreon. And the Skywalking Force has access to bonus content in the form of our Zoom discussions on the latest Disney Plus shows, like The Mandalorian and Andor, going all the way back to WandaVision.
And coming up, we'll be continuing this with Ahsoka.
Yes. So this bonus content begins at only $5 a month. So head to skywalkingforce.com and have a look at the options. And thank you so much to those of you who are already part of the Skywalking Force, like the Chica Fence, who are chiming in.
Hey, better late than never.
Woo! Yay, welcome.
All right, now we are part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet.
Where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes,
the Max Effects Podcast,
the Neverland Clubhouse,
Totally Tell Me Everything,
Star Warsologies,
and the YouTube shows
Collectopolis
and
Today in Star Wars History.
You can find us on social media. Just follow us at SkywalkingPod for Instagram right now. There's also the Facebook group Skywalking Through Neverland, and you can email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. And always remember,
Neverland on Alderaan. Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.